Good evening, OPRF incoming families. My name is Faith Cole, and I have the honor of serving as the Director of Student Services at OPRF. I've worked in this community for over 18 years, and a majority of my time
Car shopping and a meeting.
Hey, how do I know this car is a great deal?
Mary? See, Car Gurus takes the guesswork out. We factor in vehicle history, days on lot, even dealer reviews to make sure this car is a great deal.
Let's circle back.
Car Gurus. Start your search, find your deal.
That sounds super important. All right. So going back, so thank you for that quick pause. Clearly somebody was excited that I worked in Oak Park as much as I am. And so again, I've been here for 18 years. I've served in many capacities as a classroom teacher, as a principal, as well as an assistant principal. So if you've seen me before, you might say, oh, she looks kind of familiar. It's probably because either our paths have crossed or you've seen me somewhere in the community. More recently, last year, I served as the director of MTSS for District 97. And so this year in my role as director of student services, my job is to support our counselors, our deans, as well as our social workers as they help to build capacity with your student. In addition, I also support our registration office as well as our 504 coordinator and a variety of other roles within this space. So both Dr. Lamb and I are incredibly excited to be here with you tonight to talk to you more about the transition into OPRF. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Lamb so she can introduce herself.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining Ms. Cole and myself tonight for our incoming freshman enrollment information session. So I am Dr. Lamb. I have the honor of serving as the Director of Student Learning this year at OPRF. And I am very excited to return to this community. Back in 2012-2013, I had the opportunity of completing my principal internship here with the former administration. So I'm so happy to be back. My education career consists of several years as a high school science teacher. And I also had the opportunity, as a high school science teacher's dream, to also work at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. First in exhibits, where I managed exhibits such as the coal mine, and then second on teacher programs, where I developed and delivered teacher professional development. Afterwards, I transitioned to school administration, where I served as an assistant director of secondary education, overseeing the curriculum review cycle for grades 6 through 12 in Oswego 308, which is the 7th largest district in Illinois with over 18,000 students. And then afterwards, as the assistant principal of curriculum and instruction at Oswego East High School, prior to this role here at OPRF. In my current role, I have several responsibilities, and I work very closely with Ms. Cole, and I assist in the leadership of our division heads and our department chairs. I oversee our instructional coaches. I also oversee our alternative learning opportunities program, which consists of many different programs, including our tutoring center, our testing center, our multi-tiered systems of support, which also include executive functioning, where we work with students on organization, on task prioritization so that they can reach their goals. I also oversee the master scheduling process, and then also our post-secondary opportunities. So that includes dual credit and advanced placement courses. I oversee the 3 grants that support our career and technical education courses. And I look forward to spending the next hour with us tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Lamb. Next slide, please. All right, so this evening we're actually going to cover a variety of topics that is really intended to kind of give you an overview of some information and a little bit more about your transition into the high school experience. And so it might feel overwhelming. I'm sure some of you are even in disbelief that you have a high schooler that's going to be joining us next year. But please know there's going to be ongoing communications as well as opportunities for you to ask questions and really kind of inquire about your students' experience here. So some of the things that we're going to cover tonight, we're going to do a brief message from Principal Parker. We're going to talk a little bit about building leadership and our division heads, some more about the freshman transition, the structure of the school day, the course load and graduation requirements, changes to our OPRF entrance exam, as well as a little bit about our counselors, some frequently asked questions that we've compiled over the last few months from some of our family members, some important upcoming dates, as well as some resources that we'd like to really encourage you to take a look at. So you might notice throughout the presentation, you might have questions that are coming up for you. We are asking that you wait until the end. I'll kind of cue us maybe on the last slide or two. There's a button at the bottom of your screen that is a Q&A. You're able then to send questions that will go directly to us, and we will do the best we can to answer as many questions as we can. This presentation will be shared, will be uploaded to our OPRF webpage, and so you're able to see that as well as the recording. If you have additional questions or things you'd like to reach out for, our email addresses are also available. So we're going to go to the next slide and hear a short message from Principal Parker.
Good evening and welcome to Oak Park and River Forest High School. I am Linda Parker, the proud Assistant Superintendent Principal of this remarkable high school, and I would like to welcome you to our incoming Freshman Enrollment Information Night. We are so grateful for this opportunity to begin the conversation about your 8th grader becoming a high school student. Transitioning to high school is an exciting time for families, and yet it can also be a time of concern about what to expect and how to be prepared. We want to do everything we can to make becoming a Husky the best experience possible. Tonight, Mrs. Faith Cole and Dr. Julie Lamb will share all of what you need to know about the various academic and learning supports that are available at our high school so that you will be better able to get prepared for the experience ahead. I look forward to meeting you all in person in January for our future Husky Night. And I hope you enjoy your evening. Remember that it is always a great day to be a Husky. Have a good one.
So we are so excited to have Principal Parker and having the position of a principal at our school. She previously was the Director of Student Services. Also part of our building leadership team, we have David Waxler, who is the Director of Campus Safety. We have Ms. Cole and myself. We also have Ms. Ebson, our new Athletic Director, and then also Ms. Susan Johnson, our Student Activities Director. Next slide, please. In addition to the building leadership, we have 8 division heads, and they are grouped by their different subject areas. So we have Mr. Brian Conant, who is the division head for English, Dr. Samaj Coleman, our division head for Fine and Applied Arts. And in this division, it's fairly large because it also oversees 4 different departments. So under Fine and Applied Arts, we have department chairs that oversee visual arts, performing arts, business, and also family and consumer sciences. We have Miss Amy Hill, who is the History Division Head, Dr. Julie Fry, the Division Head for Math, Mr. Brian Byers, Division Head for Physical Education, Health, and Driver's Ed, Mr. Matt Kirkpatrick, Division Head for Science and Applied Technology, Dr. Leslie Roberts, who is our Assistant Director of Special Education, and Miss Claudia Sahagun, which is our division head for world languages and English language learners. Next slide, please. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing, just really quickly. If you have any questions in terms of the subject areas, some of the courses, our division heads will be present at our Future Huskies Night, which is taking place on January 18th. So you can feel free to reach out to them via email, but please know that they will be there that night as well.
Thank you, Dr. Lamb. So again, I know for some of our families in the audience, we have some of you that are bringing a freshman to us for the first time. Other of you have several students that have come through OPRF, as well as some of you guys, this will be your last freshman that will be attending. So as a former OPRF grad, I know this is an amazing place to be. And so that silly group that you see in the picture before you, that is our Student Services Department. And one of the things I'm going to talk a little bit about what the support system looks like within our building for our students. And so what you're going to hear this term often used is called PSS, which stands for Pupil Support Services Team. And really this is intended for a wraparound support of not only your student, but also for your family throughout their time at OPRF. And so this would include a family counselor, which you'll hear that term because that means if you have multiple children that will be attending, typically they will be assigned to the same counselor. So if you have a junior and a freshman, they would have the same counselor. Even if we have a student that currently is not with us, typically we're assigned to the same counselor Our reasoning behind that is that we know once you build a very strong relationship with your counselor, we really want to ensure that we're able to continue that relationship with all the siblings that are within that family. In addition, there's also a social worker that supports our students in that PSS team, as well as a dean and secretary. Additional supports we also have for our EL learners, which is our English language learners, and their supports available. Our library, which is available Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 3:30. And this could be a quiet space for students to study. They're able to check out books. And also some of our students use this space for some of their smaller study groups. In addition, we also have executive functioning, EF tutoring, and I know Dr. Lamb spoke a little bit about that as well. This is one of the areas that we often hear from our families, just having concerns with their students' ability to organize, map out larger projects, and really to stay focused on what they need to work on during their time here, and they're navigating so many classes. So this is a resource that's available to our students. I highly encourage that families kind of seek out this ability to, make sure their child is receiving support in organization. In addition, we have a tutoring center and something that we constantly are really praising. It's an amazing opportunity for your students to work directly with classroom teachers on any subject area. So they're able to work on math, English, history, any area that they have concerns about or any area they need additional support, they're able to receive support during the hours. We provide Monday through Thursday from 7 to 5 p.m. and Friday from 7 to 4:30 p.m. And this is a free service. Oftentimes it's something that we see most of our juniors and seniors utilizing. We really want to encourage our freshmen as well as our sophomores to begin using this resource much earlier. Again, it's free and it's actual instruction directly from the classroom teachers. In addition, we are a one-to-one school, which means we are each student has a Chromebook. And I know some of you guys have experienced that technology does have mishaps, as you can see earlier in our presentation. And so we do have supports that students can receive throughout their day here at OPRF, a student help desk. If there are any issues that come up in the evening or on the weekend, there also is a help desk number that can kind of support you in navigating any of those issues. Next slide, please. All right, so the transition. So oftentimes this is going to take a huge support system. So not only from OPRF, but we're also going to need our families to kind of support us with the effort. One of the things that I also hear from our incoming freshman families is the thought that because their student is going to be a ninth grader, that maybe they don't need to support them in the same way they have in the middle school. And this is actually the opposite of what we wanted to encourage. We really want families to be actively engaged, particularly in the beginning of the experience. And so what we know for a lot of students, this is a huge building. We have 3,400 students. There is a lot to navigate. So even for our students that have done extremely well in middle school, that are able to navigate, organize themselves, is that we really want families to be really heavily involved initially and then kind of determine what that support looks like. And so some of the ways that you can do that is really staying involved. And that's easy with our Skyward Family Access Portal. And so similar to some of our feeder schools that have Power School, our Skyward provides an opportunity for you to see attendance, grades, and really stay involved in kind of the day-to-day workings of your student. In addition to that, we have family conferences, which are twice a school year. However, I also want to encourage families, if there are questions or concerns or things like that, making sure that you feel free to reach out to teachers, division heads as needed, and don't feel like you have to wait for family conferences to check in with any staff members. This leads me actually into my next point as well, is really supporting your student and working on building self-advocacy. And so what does this look like? Is making sure that they feel comfortable, one, asking for what they need. So that could be sending an email to a teacher, that could be sending an email to a division head or to a coach, and you really supporting them in that effort. Some of our students need help drafting an email, figuring out what they want to actually say. And so although we don't discourage our families from reaching out, we really like for our students to be the first point of contact whenever possible. And so this is something you can absolutely support them with. As we prepare them for their post-secondary goals, we want them to feel comfortable advocating for themselves as well as talking to adults and kind of navigating what those needs are. In addition, one of the things we also want you to encourage is really get your student comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so having them step out their comfort zone. We have over 220 extracurricular activities here, and so there really is something for everyone. And so really helping your student identify maybe one or two things that they want to at least try or investigate to see if it's something they could enjoy. And so really kind of starting out as a freshman saying this is really something that we highly encourage, and don't wait until sophomore year, but really trying to do something either as a freshman or even as your summer going into your freshman year. In addition to that is if you're able to attend any school activities, whether that's now or for the rest of the school year, please do so. Even if you don't have a student that attends OPRF right now, Sometimes coming to a swimming match, a basketball game, attending one of our beautiful productions with our theater can also help ease a little bit of the worry around what the experience is going to look like at OPRF. And so we'd highly encourage you to do that. So the next big thing that you're going to be doing on our future Husky Night is making course selections. And this can feel a little bit overwhelming. We have so many courses here to offer at OPRF. And so actually in our presentation, we've linked that course selection catalog. And so I would encourage, once this presentation is made public, to go in there and kind of take a deeper look at some of the offerings and spend some time with your student kind of navigating through that to see what maybe areas of interest they have, as well as maybe some courses they want to check out, even if it's not their freshman year or moving forward. But again, we have many offerings, and then your counselors will actually talk you through that process when you meet on the 18th, and a little bit more around the requirements of what's expected from a student here at OPRF, but then also some of the course selections that you can make. From that evening, some of our families will actually make their selections right then and there. Other families might need a few more days to kind of investigate further. Our hope is by the next few days that we really will finalize our course selections so then we can already start preparing for the fall year. Dr. Lamb had mentioned that our division heads will be available that evening as well. So if you have questions around math recommendations, if you have questions around history programs, English programs, these are all things that can also happen that evening. You can absolutely also reach out at any point to them via email as well as you have questions. Next slide, please. So student responsibility. So now what are we kind of expecting from our students when they're here at OPRF? And so our biggest thing is we are trying to build capacity so they're ready for whatever their post-secondary goals could be. And so a big one around this I mentioned earlier is around this communication. How can I be an effective communicator? How can I really speak up for what my needs are? And so that will be something that we continue to really try to facilitate and build when they're here with us at OPRF. In addition to this, being punctual and regular attendance to classes and commitments. And so for many of our students, this is never an issue. However, as many of you may know, when you get to OPRF or any high school, there's many social opportunities to talk to friends in the hallway. And so we just want to make sure that this is staying at the forefront of students, that they really are focusing on their academics here. And so making sure that students understand that it is an expectation of ours when they're here, that they're in class and that they are on time. In addition to that is knowing that a lot of our projects will not be individual assignments that are due at the end of the following day. Some of them are going to be larger projects where the students are going to have to use some of those executive functioning skills to break those out into smaller groups so then they're able to complete the project in its time. And so this will be something that we will be working again to build capacity around, but something as family that you can also support. In addition to that, Dr. Lamb will talk about those graduation requirements, but this is something also that your student wants to make sure they have a good understanding around. What's expected to graduate here from OPRF? In addition to that, knowing that for some of our students, depending on the university or their post-secondary goals they're going to, there may be slightly different requirements as they head into after high school. And so these are things to also be mindful of, and Dr. Lamb will talk a little bit more about that moving forward. In addition, also what their academic progress is. They have the ability to look up their grades, any assignments at any point. And so making sure that this is a regular part of them checking in to kind of see where they're at in their courses and then see if any changes need to be made. Next slide. All right, so in addition to that, we really over-communicated OPRF, and so I apologize in advance. We send lots of emails, lots of tweets, and all kinds of messages, and your student will actually be the recipient of a lot of those messages. So we do send text messages to students as well as emails, and so getting students more aware with checking their email, how to kind of filter out what they really need to read versus maybe what they can save for later or delete. But this is really, we expect students to really be active in their communication piece. And so this is something we will continue to kind of work with them. In addition, we have lots of strengths in all of our students. And so those are things that we will build when they're here, but also those areas of opportunities, things that we also maybe see as weaknesses, is that how can we kind of build those and ensure that we really have a growth mindset around that if we want to accomplish something, we can absolutely do that, but also being realistic in those goals. And so helping students kind of build that understanding around what their larger needs are. And in addition to that is being actively involved in school. And so not being an inactive learner where I'm just sitting in class and kind of taking it in, but really, taking charge of my academic experience as well as my social experience, taking part in these 4 years to make sure I'm getting the most out of my time here at OPRF. Next slide. So our family's responsibilities. And so these are some things that we really do hope that our families can support us with at home. One of the largest things is providing an environment that is conducive to learning. And so this looks slightly different in all spaces. In some spaces, it's having a quiet space with materials. In other spaces, it's having a space right next to you so that students can work but ask you questions. We're really looking for a space where students feel comfortable navigating their homework, but also having a conversation around their day-to-day activities. And so and the reason this is important, as we know with the pandemic, a lot of our students are struggling with some of their social emotional needs right now. And so we need our families as well as to keep abreast of those things. And so if we have situations, oftentimes our families are the first ones to be aware that maybe something is not right with their student. And so again, having these regular conversations, whether they're daily, more often than that, are incredibly helpful just to ensure that your students' needs are also getting met, but then we're able to support in any way. Knowing that students are still students, it can be difficult for sometimes for them to even know what they need. And so that's why we hope our families can really partner with us to provide an additional communication piece so that they're able to share with us if there's something that is going on or if there's any way that we can also support. In addition to that, is really ensuring that students are available at school as much as possible. There's a lot that we cover within a semester. We understand that students will have to miss at some points, but really making this a priority when they're with us here at OPRF. In addition to that, is really modeling good communication skills, what that looks like for teachers, as well as how to encourage your student, like I said before, is to really be the main communicator or the first communicator whenever possible. Next slide. And so again, this we also notice with some of our students is they have a really great sense of self, and so they feel very confident, very positive, they're capable of many things, and we want them to continue that. We do understand that with success comes failures, and so ensuring that we are supporting them through those failures and some of those difficult times, and really building that growth mindset that yes, even though we failed, there's something to be learned from this. And so we hope that our families can also support us with that effort, helping to build the students' understanding around their strengths, but also their weaknesses or their areas of opportunity so that we can continue to have realistic conversations around post-secondary goals and how we really can support them. But anything that our families can do to really make sure that they are honing in on really building our students up with their self-esteem and supporting them are going to be things that are greatly appreciated for us in our departments. Next slide.
So part of the transition from 8th grade to high school is that your student will encounter a change in the structure of the school day, just like how they encountered some changes going from elementary to junior high or middle school. So for this slide, you see two of our bell schedules that are most commonly used. The one on the left is our regular bell schedule, and we have 8 periods throughout the school day, including an advisory, a short advisory period between second and third period. So each class period is 47 minutes long with a 5-minute passing period in between. And one suggestion that I have for all parents and guardians and students is that we have a very large building. We house over 3,400 students. So please maximize the 5 minutes that you have to get from one class to the next. During the advisory, our students are grouped as a cohort starting from their freshman year. So they get to grow with the same cohort of students throughout their 4 years in high school, from freshman year to senior year. And they also will have the same advisory teacher. Advisories are grouped by counselor. And part of the reasoning is that some of the activities that we do during advisory, so for example, currently our counselors have pushed into advisories to talk to students about course registration for next year. And that makes it very efficient for our counselors and for our students to be able to work together on those important tasks and to get important information out as well. On the right-hand side, you see our Late Start Wednesday bell schedule. We actually had a Late Start Wednesday bell schedule today. So that happens about every other week. And this is to make time at the beginning of the day for what we call teacher collaboration time. Teachers will collaborate within their divisions or departments, and sometimes within their course-like teams. And this takes place from 8 to 9:30 on those Late Start Wednesdays. Afterwards, you see that we still have our 8 periods a day, only now that they're shortened from the 47 minutes to 36 minutes. There's no longer an advisory on late start Wednesdays. However, you see that second period is slightly longer than the other periods. Instead of 36 minutes, it's 40 minutes, so that the second period teacher has a couple of minutes to make any daily announcements necessary for our students to hear. And then at the very bottom, I have hyperlinked our school year calendar for the next school year. So a few weeks ago, the OPRF Board of Education had approved both the school year 23 and the school year 24 school calendars. So when you access this document, you can see exactly when the next school year starts, when it ends, when our holidays are scheduled, other important days such as testing days as well. Next slide, please. So for this slide, what I would like to communicate is the freshman course load and how that looks like and how that can look different across all 4 years as they matriculate to become sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So freshmen are required to take 6 courses, including that physical education and health course. So for one semester, a student will take a PE course, and then the other semester, the opposite semester, would be a health course, or vice versa. So if a student chooses for an additional period to take an elective, they can absolutely do so. Our course catalog is quite lengthy, and we have tons of options for our students to explore their interests and to also solidify some of the strengths that they already have. So some of the options that we have include world languages, we have our fine and applied arts and our applied technology classes as well. As they matriculate to a sophomore, junior, and senior, they can go ahead and take 7 courses out of the 8-period day. But we are very cognizant that as a freshman, this is a very critical time as they transition from one grade band to another. So we don't want to overload our students during that transition time. So that's why they have a choice. If they want to take that additional 7th course, they can. However, if they choose not to, they will be assigned to a couple different options that we have. One of them is called our Freshman Launch Program, where they are in a freshman only program, which is led by a teacher, and then also upperclassmen who are our leaders. And the leaders serve almost as mentors to the students throughout the school year, and they can connect about their experiences at OPRF. In addition to Freshman Launch, we also have Freshman Study Hall, and then also Academic Strategies. In addition to the regular school year, so our 2 semesters, our fall and spring semester, we also have summer school. And our students are encouraged to take summer school classes at OPRF. Sometime in February and possibly March, we release our summer school catalog and our registration. And students can enroll to up to 3 separate courses for summer school. And what you see on this slide on the right-hand side, at the very bottom, there are some tentative dates for when registration would be open for summer school for the year for 2022. And then also the tentative start and end dates for summer school, along with the 3 separate periods. What you'll notice is that the periods are fairly long. So each period is 2 hours and 15 minutes. And the reason for that is because in summer school, the courses are condensed. So each summer school day is going to contain the content and the skills that would be equivalent to a week or a little over a week of a regular school day during the regular school year. So those are some items to keep in mind as we approach Future Huskies Night, as you work with your student to decide on their schedule and the courses that they're taking for next school year, and possibly even in the summer. Next slide, please. Can I have the next slide, please? So on this slide, I have a fairly large table, and I am going to walk you through this table right now. It is our graduation requirements. So this is the minimum of what is required for our students to be able to graduate with a high school diploma from OPRF. And on the left-hand side, you see that it's divided by the different subject areas that we have. Next, we have the number of credits that we require. And there is a minimum of 43 credit hours that are required for a student to graduate from OPRF with a diploma. And then any comments. So starting off, we have our core subject areas, which include English, math, science, and history. So there's a 8-credit requirement for English, and each credit is equivalent to 1 course taken during 1 period for each semester. So you see here, there are 8 credits that are required for English, which means that 4 years of English are required. For math, there is a 6 credit or a 3-year requirement. And the special notes here is that there is 2 credits or 1 year of algebra that is required, 2 credits for 1 year of geometry, and then 2 credits for 1 year of another math class. And we have several that your students can select from. For science, we have 4 credit hours or 2 years. However, 2 of those credits or a 1-year science course has to be one that has a lab credit to it. And then for our last core area, we have history. And there's 4 credit hours that are required for history, 2 which is for world history, and then 2 which is for American history. And each of those are 1 year. In addition, Illinois has a requirement for civics. So this is a 1 semester course for 1 credit, and students must pass the Constitution test during their civics class. For world languages, fine arts, applied arts, computer proficiency, financial literacy, there is a 1 credit or 1 semester requirement. And for financial literacy, there are a couple different options. So some students decide to take our financial literacy class, but some also decide to take our AP or our advanced placement economics class, which includes AP microeconomics and AP macroeconomics in the 1 year. So they could take either of these courses, which will satisfy the financial literacy requirement. There's also a 8 credit hour total or 4-year requirement for physical education, health, and driver's ed, safety ed. So as freshmen, as I mentioned before, your student will be enrolled in a PE class for 1 semester, and then the health class the opposite semester. In terms of their enrollment the entire time here at OPRF, they must be enrolled in any of these 3 separate types of courses within this division. When it comes time for your student to take driver's ed, and I know that as a teenager, some of our students are very eager to get their driver's license and have that independence. And we have a fantastic driver's ed program here at OPRF. And I want to note that if for any reason any of our families decide to take a driver's ed course outside of OPRF, that would have to be through another accredited high school, just so that we can ensure that the curriculum is on par with ours. And some students have chosen to take driver's ed during the summer as well, so that is definitely an option. And then there's 7 additional credits in which they can take within the electives. So again, that includes our world languages, our fine and applied arts, our science and technology courses. And I'm very proud to oversee some of those post-secondary opportunities where we have a program for cosmetology, we have a program for barbering. I also have a program currently running with Concordia University for students who want to be teachers. So our students get dual credit for these courses that they take on Concordia's campus as well. Next slide, please.
So one of the changes that we will impact your incoming freshmen is changes to our entrance exam. And so in the past, We've given the STAR assessment, which is an exam that we typically would have done around this time of school year to all our incoming freshmen. That gives us the data point, so it kind of makes it helps us with our course recommendations. So based on some feedback and some preliminary data, we decided that we really want to go with more of a pattern of achievement instead of one moment in time. And so what we'll be looking at is for your eighth grade student is what their experience was as a seventh and eighth grader as we prepare the environment for your student. And the reason we think this is important is that we were finding with the STAR assessment that we were gathering another data point, but often they were reflecting the information that we already had. And so for many of our schools, we're working in partnership with our middle schools to get that information so then we're able to make recommendations to courses and make sure the environment is ready for your student. For some of our students that are coming in from various schools that don't have the same level of data assessments or students that are being homeschooled, we are working with those students and those families as well to administer the STAR assessment in cases where we do need additional data to make those recommendations. And so that is a change for us this school year. There is additional information that is also available within this presentation, but that will be one of the bigger changes that you will see for your incoming freshmen. Next slide, please. So our amazing counselors. So I know I already spoken about them. And so we actually have 15 counselors. Each counselor is assigned to about 220 to 250 students, as well as their families. And their job is really to support in all facets and all aspects of your time here at OPRF. They're incredibly knowledgeable, hardworking, and they really want to ensure that you have the absolute best experience. But your counselor is going to be your go-to person throughout your time here. So this is a group of our counselors, but next slide, I'm going to show you the rest of our counselors. And again, the rest of our 15 counselors. And so you will get a chance to meet your counselor on our future Husky night. There will be information that will be going home in the beginning of January, so you can know who your counselor is. And again, you'll get a chance to meet them in person. They'll talk you kind of through that course registration and talk to you a little bit more about your experience here at OPRF. But this will be the partner that you're in partnership for your 4 years here at OPRF. Next slide. And so some of the frequently asked questions, Dr. Lamb and I have gotten a variety of questions kind of in the first couple of months as families are preparing for their freshmen to join us next year. And these are some of the things that we thought would be important just to make sure that we're covering. We will ask though, if you have additional questions that you want to put in the Q&A, which is located at the bottom of your screen, you can absolutely do that at the current time. So a lot of questions we get are around attendance. How will I know my child's attendance? And so going back to that family access portal, that's really going to provide you all the insight you need around your students' attendance, whether or not they are in class, as well as if students were late to class. In addition, you will also be able to go in and mark your student if they're absent for the day or they're going to have to miss for a doctor's appointment. So you'll have the ability to see that in real time as well. In addition, if we do have a student that, let's say, does misses class or for some reason are not called in by you, you do get a robocall that goes directly to your voicemail. Again, another opportunity for you in real time to kind of know your students' attendance whereabouts. Activities and athletics. So this is going to be particularly pertinent to any of our students that are doing fall sports. A lot of these things are going to have to be solidified prior to the start of school year. And so this is some information that was also shared with you guys via email from our nurse, but particularly this will be a link that if you have your student take part in any of our fall sports, making sure that you're looking into what's needed for them to try out, and then any particular questions you might have around the tryouts or the actual season. We also have a bookstore on campus, which gives students an opportunity to purchase materials, as well as a PE uniform. It includes workbooks, art kits, and various things that are needed kind of throughout their day. But one of the things I will talk about as we move a little bit further is just around their supply list, like how it looks different than what they've maybe experienced in the past. But we do have a bookstore, again, where they can get the books, their novels, and things that are needed. Most of these things will be given to them prior to the start of school, but occasionally we'll have to go to the bookstore to purchase various things. Contact information. So we did hear from some of our families that they wanted to either change an email address or they wanted to add a new contact information on there. You will get an opportunity to do that in early January. You'll get information around how to access your own family Skyward portal, and then you can go in and update any information that you would like to update. We do receive our information directly from our middle school. So if it was something that maybe you added in when your child was a sixth grader, we do understand that some of those things weren't updated at the current time. And so know that you will get an opportunity to do that in early January. Course registration, I know I've spoken that about length. That's going to be happening at our future Husky night on January 18th. And then when will I get my counselor? That's always the big question. Is you will find out that information via email on January 2022, so early January before our Future Husky Night. Next slide.
So the next topic is data sharing. And the question is, how is information shared between my students' current school with OPRF? So we work with all of our feeder and partner schools to identify the information that would be helpful in this transition process. And some of that information could be inclusive of, for example, your contact information, how we were able to communicate with you about this event and future events, assessments, grades, 504 information, and also IEP information as well. Earlier, Ms. Cole talked about family access. So you might already have a type of family access for the student information system in which the middle school or junior high you're currently attending is a part of. For OPRF, we use a student information system called Skyward. And with Skyward, the family access portal is which the parents or the guardians and the students can log in to see important information such as attendance, assignment grades, and also final grades as well. For the freshman curriculum restructuring, this is something that our OPRF Board of Education had unanimously approved this fall. And what are the primary intentions of freshman curriculum restructuring or detracking? And that is to make sure that all students can explore and develop their interests and abilities free from any of the tracks. Also, we have access for all students to a high level and rigorous curriculum. And then this also addresses any adverse underlying beliefs that have led students to these barriers, hindering equal access to that high level rigorous curriculum, particularly for our students of color. You may be wondering how you can become active at OPRF, and we have lots of parent and family groups that you can join. So I have some of them listed on this slide here. So you have Applause, which is our booster group for our music, dance, and theater. And I also have listed when they usually meet. We have Apple, which is our African American Parents for Purposeful Leadership in Education. We have our Community Council, which is an advisory group to the administration and Board of Education. We also have our Husky Booster Club, which you may see during the Future Huskies Night because they are known for being able to showcase and sell our OPRF Husky swag. So this year they had introduced one of the products that I absolutely love, which is OPRF Huskies Ugly Christmas Sweater. And for Spirit Week, that was the day for today, is Ugly Sweater Day. We also have Parents for Student Success, and that is considered our parent-teacher organization. Next slide, please.
All right, and so I absolutely, Dr. Lamb, we take our Husky gear here very, very seriously. And so we definitely get decked out with our blue and orange. And so one of the great things at our Future Husky Night, our hopes is to have some of that gear available if you'd like to purchase some for your future Husky. One of the questions we often get asked too is school photos. And so it is a requirement that our students do have school photos and that they wear IDs on them at all times. And so their pictures are actually going to happen. We have a scheduled pickup week, which will be the week before school starts. And so there will actually be a designated time for our freshmen to come to check in. They'll receive their books during this time as well as their schedules, and then they will take their picture for their school ID. Going back to that school supply list, this is going to be a little bit different than maybe your middle school or your elementary school experience, where you will not get a set list. You'll find out from the classroom teacher what particular supplies will be needed throughout the semester. And so this will be slightly different. Some of those supplies will be part of the students receiving their books and their materials in the fall, but occasionally we do have teachers that need additional things within their classroom that they will request early in the start of the course. We also are very much into social media and making sure that everybody knows the great things that are happening out there on OPRF. So depending which way you'd like to keep an eye on how things are going, we have plenty of social media accounts that you can follow. We do send out communications as well regularly from our superintendent as well as our principal and some of our various departments. But we do want to make sure that we're having really a positive presence on social media. And so those are some places that you can follow us. Transportation. So this is also going to be different than what many of you experienced in your middle school. We do not have typical buses that do come here every day. Many of our students are going to be walking to school, riding their bikes. Some of our students will get dropped off, and then a couple years from now, some of your students will also be driving to school. And so we will talk a little bit about that as it gets closer to August, what that looks like. Because we won't have any drivers in our freshmen next year, there will be an opportunity for students to purchase driving driving permits so that they're able to park around the school facility as well. But that will be something several years down the road. Next slide. So some upcoming important dates. And so our Future Husky Night, which will be Tuesday, January the 18th, that's going to start at 5:30 until 8 o'clock p.m. We're going to start with kind of an introduction and welcome to our families. And then you're going to spend some time meeting your family counselor and to begin that course registration process. You're also able to speak to those division heads if you have any questions. There are going to be some additional special sessions to learn more about some of those post-secondary opportunities that Dr. Lamb spoke of, and then getting a chance to tour the school. There's been quite a bit of construction and some really beautiful additions that you'll get a chance to see that will happen on that Future Husky Night. This will be a family event, so feel free to bring anybody from your family. We are social distancing as appropriate. However, this will be open to any individuals in your family, so we do welcome students as well as their families to come join us for this event. You will get some additional information in early January, again, that will share who your counselor is, some additional information around course recommendations, and then things about your evening programming. In regards to our open online enrollment and residency verification, even though we have your email addresses, we do not have you officially enrolled in OPRF yet. You will receive some additional information in late April, early May on how to enroll your child officially for OPRF. In addition, I know I spoke about freshman schedule and book pickup. Our actual date will be Tuesday, August the 9th, 2022. There will be a set time. Each of our counselors greet their students, their freshman students, at a specific time. Those times will be shared with you a little bit closer to that date. And then your first day of school for your freshmen will be Monday, August the 15th, and this will be for freshmen only. This is a freshman kickoff day, which gives your freshmen an opportunity to come into the building, really get a sense. We do a couple different community activities, making them feel really comfortable before we welcome our sophomores, juniors, and seniors into the building. So that first day of school will be Monday, August the 15th for all those planners out there. Next slide. And so we do have a wealth of links on our OPRF page, and we did pull a few off that we feel like would be important that we really wanted to make sure that we highlighted for all our families. We have a specific page for incoming freshman students. We have a page for college and career planning information, as well as transgender and gender nonconforming students information at OPRF. We have information around our fall and our spring sports, as well as you have questions about the development of IEP information for our students that will be transitioning to us with IEPs, as well as information for our students that will be transitioning to us with 504 plans. And finally, our OPRF Family Survival Guide. And so that was something that was shared several, but this will be something to keep referring back to. It has a wealth of information that will really help support your transition. Next slide, please. And so again, Dr. Lamb and I really want to thank you guys for taking this busy time of the year to learn a little bit more about OPRF and what you can expect when you're here. Like I said, you can go into the chat if you want to go to the Q&A. We will do the best we can to answer as many questions as we can. But once again, thank you, and we look forward to meeting you guys in January.
Thank you, everybody. I echo exactly the sentiments as Ms. Cole. Thank you for spending this hour with us tonight, and we look forward to meeting you in person.
People are welcome to hang out if they want to, or if you have no questions, you're welcome to enjoy the rest of your evening.
We just had a question come in. So the question is, how does EF, so executive functioning tutoring work? So we have two different options. There's an informal option within our tutoring center where we have tutors who are trained in executive functioning, and they will work with students who just walk in and have certain tasks or goals, such as, I need to prepare for this test, or I need to prepare for this project. How can I map out my time? Sometimes I've seen students bring in a large binder, needing some assistance in terms of organization. If something more formal is needed, that is when our multi-tiered system of supports coordinator is involved along with the student's PSS team. And the student can be enrolled in an EF class with an instructor. And that takes place over the course of 6 to 8 weeks. And we definitely monitor data throughout that time to see if they need extended support, or they can be released from that course and then go back to possibly their regular study hall.
Wonderful. All right, we had a couple really great questions coming in around students getting their OPRF email addresses and email accounts, and when will this be used to communicate with them? Typically, a lot of our students will get it in the fall, and so we do, again, try to communicate with them at the start of the school year. However, most of them will not have that information until they get their Chromebooks, which will happen for them when they come to schedule pickup. So that will be some time from now. In addition, do geometry classes that students take in the middle school count towards geometry requirement at OPRF? And we do have some of our students that are currently taking either geometry at their middle schools or actually taking geometry at OPRF currently as 8th graders. And so this will be a conversation to be had with your counselors. In some cases, it can count towards that credit. However, there still may be an additional math requirement that is necessary.
Again, we have several minutes left, so if you have any lingering questions, please feel free to enter them into the Q&A. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to leave the Zoom and enjoy the rest of your night. So we had another question come in asking, will students who take band also be able to take art courses? So looking at the freshman load, they already have 6 courses that they would have to take. The 7th one would be a lunch period, so they would have room for an elective course. This is something that the student might consider for future years.
You know, Dr. Lamb, if I could also add to that too, because we
Mhm.
have so many different opportunities for extracurricular activities, that we do sometimes see that our families, students make course selections, but then are also able to make sure that they're getting that those special talents met in some of our extracurricular activities too, because there is only so much time in the day. So I definitely understand that.
Absolutely. And sometimes, we see our incoming freshmen take some summer school courses, which definitely changes the structure of their freshman year schedule to possibly make room for some more electives.
And we're so good with wait time, right? That's the teacher in us. So
Absolutely.
and now, so I'm assuming no more questions are coming in. Again, we want to thank everybody and have a wonderful night. Feel free to reach out to us as you have any questions.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.